I think the biggest message that I want to give to the Black community is to educate you, not on your life, on your stuff, because like you guys went through a lot of shit, like you really did, but I want to educate you on the white slave trade that you're not aware of, that politically has been hidden. So you don't know that this happened to the Scottish and Irish people. You don't know, they haven't told you that there was the Irish and Scottish slave trade. They called it indentured servant, but it was exactly the same thing. They starved the people to death. They only allowed them to have potatoes. They took their land and they separated their families, and they took their children and they sent them off to be slaves all over the world. And they took their women, and a lot of them ended up in Barbados and a lot of places like Jamaica and that, on the plantations, and became breeders for mixed race children, for mulatto children. They were raped repeatedly. They were abused. The Irish were small. In the annals, there's actually writing about this, saying that they were less expensive than the black slaves because they were small. So you could actually beat a white person, an Irish Scottish, to death, where you would get a fine if you did that to a black person, because they were considered more valuable because they were stronger than the small Irish Scottish people. This is a history that most people do not know, but Irish Scottish people hold it in their DNA. And it makes us angry, makes us sad, because we know, like our families came from strict poverty. There's no white privilege. White privilege doesn't exist. It never has. It was a made-up thing by the government to separate us, to make us think that these people are better than those people, and these people oppress those people. But at the same time, in the orphanages, that was happening even in America. For 40 years before even the native children were the white children in those orphanages that were taken away from their families. And then in all the insane asylums where their family parents were taken away or killed, just killed and taken away. There is a huge history that you guys are all missing. And that makes everybody point their fingers and saying, oh, well, they oppressed. How could small Irish people, like my family, I'm 5'3", my dad was 5'3", my mom was 5'2", my grandmother was 5'11". How could we oppress you? How could we have had privilege over you? Like, it's crazy. That's why we were slaves, and this is documented for a lot longer, because we were easy to catch. And we were easy to manipulate, and you forget about, and you haven't been taught about what happened with the Muslim slave trade. How the reason why we ended up having the Knights Templar and those kind of people was to protect the ships of carrying white people that were enslaved by that and sent around. And the biggest thing that they liked the most, and it's the same thing today, is white women. So you don't know this history that we have went through and we've suffered. There's no such thing as white privilege. That's made up by the government. It's made up by the government. We've had to go through all the same stuff as you have. But the only difference is we're called racists if we talk about this. We cannot have this. My video is going to get taken down for talking about this. But yet the history is there. My family has a memory of these histories. But we're not allowed to talk about that because I have a lighter skin. So I'm not allowed to talk about the abuse, the slavery of my people.